كتير بتجيلي أسئلة من حضراتكم عن أنظمة التعليم المتاحة في مصر، وناس كتير جدا بتسألني أنهي نظام أفضل؟
حديث المدارس مع رؤوف بكر.
كلهم كويسين، ولكن بشرطين. أولا إنك تكون أنت كولي أمر فاهم ابنك وفاهم النظام كويس وعارف إذا كان هيناسبه وهيناسب قدراته ولا لا. ثانيا إن المدرسة اللي بتطبق النظام ده تكون فعلا فاهماه وبتطبقه صح. إيه هو النظام الكندي؟ وإيه اللي بيميزه عن غيره؟ وإيه فرص الالتحاق من خلاله بجامعات سواء مصرية أو غيرها؟
What we focus on is trying to come out with solutions that are mutually beneficial, focusing on the success of the student, and that is the primary goal, and that's what the parent wants.
Many people in Egypt do not know much about the Canadian system, and let me tell you that some people don't even know it exists.
I know the American system and British system are extremely well known here.
They're the most common types here used in Egypt, yes.
Yet if you go by the program of international school assessments, Canada ranks in the top 10 consistently, ahead of the American and the British system. And one of the reasons is because our school is inquiry-based. That yes, we do teach the content, but as it says right here on the cover, we teach children to learn how to learn. We want the students to be able to do much like the students in Canada. Students in Canada are using the exact same materials, and the teachers are using the same pedagogy to teach and instruct the students.
Okay.
And they're being tested and assessed the same way as well. The ambassador, Louis Dumas, he came to the school. He was curious about a Canadian school establishing itself in the new administrative capital.
You mentioned a lot of things about the skills. I think to apply this strategy or this technique in the school, you need well-qualified teachers, if not unique teachers.
Our teaching staff has to be certified from our partner back in Canada, which is the province of Prince Edward Island. They go through an interview process, and they have to get past me. I really want to first find out whether they can meet what we call the AAA. Yes, and the AAA in our school means active learning, and active listening, and active teaching, and able to be flexible and take a window of opportunity that happens in the classroom and redirect the learning so that it continues to keep the students engaged.
How about the teaching strategy itself in the school? What happens?
The lesson is taught in the classroom, and as it's being taught in the classroom, the teacher actually interrupts the teaching to do verification checks to assess whether or not the students are following along with the lesson and comprehend. So they scaffold on that learning and continue the lesson through. Each aspect of the lesson has a hands-on activity. If we were perhaps in a class with grade 3 and they're beginning to work with division, they would start out with a big pile of blocks. Now the teacher knows that the blocks, there are 30 of them.
That sounds interesting.
And then after that, they would say, how many equal groups of 6 can you make? And so the students go through that. Then after that, the question is there for division is then explained to the student, and they realize that they just did that. The lessons tend to be cross-curricular. When the teacher is teaching in English, they might be doing a lesson on adjectives, and on that they might identify qualitative adjectives and quantitative adjectives.
That's English.
Yes.
Yes.
And when they do that, then they would read through a passage with students, and students would then begin to identify that. They would have the data of how many qualitative and how many quantitative. Then the teacher then passes that information on to the math teacher, who then carries the lesson on, and they do a bar graph so that they can learn how to use graphing to compare different pieces of data.
Which might lead to science later on.
Exactly. And then when they go to science, it's the exact same passage, but now working with the content that the teacher is now able to prepare them to do the hands-on science experiments.
I think this requires a very strong bond between the teacher and the student in order for the student to be receptive of what the teacher delivers.
So we have purposely built our classrooms small so that we'll be having a class size of 18 to 20 students at the higher grades. We ideally want to focus on having between 14 to 18 students in the younger grades. The reason for that is because Educational research has proven that is the bond between the teacher and the student that encourages the student to want to show off, look what I've done. But on top of that, it gives them the trust so that when I don't really know how to do this. Can you help me with that? Labs that are set up specifically for science, and we have language labs, a library where it's possible, where there are areas where the student can just curl up in a section and read a book. The students can flow from one activity to another. We have many different sports areas in the school, but as well, one of the things that we're focusing on is trying to build a very strong music program. And one of the reasons is because, again, if you look at educational research, a strong music program, it ties in with students learning in other courses. Introduce the students to a variety of sports, and here in Egypt, it's football.
Okay, can you get some advice for the parents?
When it comes to homework, you don't have to sit and actually oversee their homework. You have to just show an interest in it. When you show that interest, your child thinks this is important.
Okay, advice to the students?
Take a chance and make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with it. That's what we do at the school. We say, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Advice for the teachers?
Listen to your student.
اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما.